Depending on code suggestion is always good. I'm not saying that is bad, but always having a full dependency on the code suggestion is not good for a professional developer. Make sure you get used to the convention of or syntax of JavaScript in this case, because JavaScript or jQuery sometime since it is a function, it gives you a suggestion. It only identifies, tracks the IDs which is defined explicitly. Dynamically created stuff, it may not be knowing what kind of object type it is. Okay, before that probably I need to make a little change in my schema, so I'm just going to change the database name. So if I change the database name, the database will be created from the scratch, from the beginning. So these things fine, and I'm going to add one more index. Here a question should come, what is this twice, why you are defining it twice? But in that I try to tell you, maybe this is the one, the field name, but this is the one, something going to be used to identify the field name. Once I write the query, you will get the point. Okay, I added one more field to my object store, so let me add them now. Finally, std. So this time it's not random data. Say make it as a student data. When the record successfully added, better we query all the existing records as soon as the data is successfully added, so that we can go ahead and prepare the table. So get all student records is going to prepare the table, so it's going to display the content. At this point, the same query, I really don't see anything to be modified except this place where we will dynamically create the tr fields or tr DOM to prepare the table. Maybe I can copy the code from the previous example itself. So create table, some method I remember adding. Yeah, here it is. I feel I can copy the entire hopefully. And we won't require this for loop. Empty the table just before the cursor opens for iteration. Okay. Here from the cursor we are going to retrieve the value. Hopefully I did correct. Std mark, so make sure all field names matches. It looks fine except the serial number. I prefer to display the primary key. If at all, if we mask some other value, we will see. We could change that. The cell clicks, okay, will come a little later for editing purpose. Edit and other delete thing, we will think about it. cursor continue. Everything has been defined, hopefully. So this is something going to fetch all the student record, prepare the table. Only difference is this time the value or data is going to come from the cursor, of course, IndexedDB. So we have done the required changes, and this index is not available. So if anything going wrong, will throw unexpected error. So before itself we correct it, will be good. I hope you remember these fields for editing purpose we created when that thing when those DOMs get clicked and becomes an editable. But we will write them. Let's see. Rest of the code remains same. Before that, if any errors are there, let me verify in the console. Okay, looks fine. I think I'm not calling the function right function. Okay. Save this time. What was that? On click add student record. It inserted, but I don't see anything. Okay. I remember for a few seconds things appeared. Any DOM confusions are there? I really don't see anything. Oh, this is something. This is also correct. Got table body empty. The iteration of cursor may be making the table empty every time. Okay, that's it. Because the success is called whenever a new cursor value is retrieved. So better. Okay, let me try one more time. Okay, good. Now things being retrieved from the IndexedDB, I need to empty them. This is we have a descending order. I hope that's the reason it is coming in a descending order. Okay, so it looks fine, but it is empty those DOMs as soon as values retrieved. Okay, let me add one more record. Okay, we'll have to verify it is staying. Okay, it stays. So our IndexedDB working as expected. Now we will proceed adding or maybe editing the content or maybe retrieving certain conditions, like we'll put a drop down or maybe some sort of filter over here. So when the subject is chemistry, only the students of having the subject chemistry will be retrieved, or the student having a performed mark maybe 50 and above could be retrieved. So that kind of query also we need to perform. So that's really important. In fact, having a database in such a case, we can do a kind of a transaction which is required to be performed for various indexing purpose. That we can do, but before that we will complete the edit and delete, so that we will complete the crude or those kind of option. Okay, so first thing we have to make sure it becomes an editable field. This is where we did the editable option. So let me get the on cell click code. Okay, I'm going to bring this one. Okay. On complete it requires, okay, we'll have to identify what is that as well. Okay, this is one. Okay, on complete is the one which actually going to persist. Okay, so in this this is where we are persisting. So this particular block we are not going to need it. This is a block where we are actually performing the edit. So before that, I'd like to verify whether it is becoming an editable field or not. Then we will see. Okay, now it becomes editable, no problem. Okay, let us add the edit function. For your better clarity, I'll make it as a function. So what are the thing needed? Index needed. Index is a primary key or something. Key is also there. Okay, what we really going to require is an input field. Okay, so we have a key here. This key I am just going to make it relevant to a database schema or object store value schema. So std sub this primary key I really feel it is not required, because I already told you it has some sort of indexing capability already. But if at all required, we will see. Yeah, we would require for obvious reason. We still allow the duplicate values, so of course we would need it. So what I am going to do here is index. I'll make this as a slightly called field instead of key, so slightly misleading. We'll make it as a field. Make it as a primary index or primary key for naming convention. Okay, so now whenever this block is executed, which field or which particular field is getting edited, and I will also have a primary key or that particular field and the input field instance. Before that, I will like to verify I'm getting the right values. Yeah, I'm getting them. Sorry, delete, we have to delete. The name comes, Okay, so as soon as I remove the focus, the primary key is returned. Okay, everything works fine. Let us add the edit feature. Same procedure. First thing, we have to get an object called what you call transaction. So transaction object should be updated. The first one is a array. If you have multiple object store, std, tbl in this case, or table, and which require read write access. Once we have a transaction object, what's the object we should get? Object store in object. So writing object store slightly confusing for you guys. Now I'll write student object store. Very generic name may be confusing for you, so just I'll make a different name. Transaction object store. Tell which object store you are trying to access. Okay. Now you have an object store. This object store, the edited value is going to be set. Okay, let us first prepare the object, then we will either decide about updating it or not. First, edited object. This object is going to contain the field and okay, this is going to be a little tricky here. We'll try. And input value, because it is not picking this field, that is one way to fix it. Okay, and primary key, I remember I gave 3D ID, that is called primary key index. Where your dot notation fails, where you could not define an object in that way, you can define in this way, because it is this particular thing itself a variable. Attribute name cannot be a variable if you define in this way. So here my attribute name itself a variable, that's why I am defining in this way. So this value is going to be, so at the end what is the edited object I am getting, I'll show you. Console. Well, I'll just show you what is the edited value, then we can deploy that for edit. So I'm just clicking on this one. When I lose the focus, it prepares an object for me having stdid2, primary key 2, and the std name, the object name is dev. Or if I click this one, when I lose the focus, it prepares std marks. Notice this itself is changing. So we are preparing our required object. Forget about the unchanged object. Only the object which is going to get changed we prepare, and since we have a primary key safely here, I can go ahead simply execute the update statement. So it is going to execute in such a case. If I focus here and remove it, it is going to execute a statement update set those fields, like std name equal to Raju, where std id is equal to 3. So it's going to execute an update statement. Let's see. We have an object which requires to be edited. Let me make a request to update the object. Put will do two jobs. If an object already existing having a primary or indexed value, it will update. Where if a if a condition doesn't meet, it will add. For example, update if not insert. So when a condition doesn't meet, the update fails, it will do the insert. So in this case, the condition is going to be met. So because we are already calling an existing object. Same thing. Request success. It's not a let's see what is actually it is giving. Event target set. When I'm done with the update, of course I don't need to refresh anything, because when I fully refresh the page, it's not automatically it is going to have an updated result. If you see that it executed and the third one was updated, so it is giving me the record having 3 is being updated. If you refresh, you will have updated. I think something went wrong here. Oh my god, I missed them. Okay, we had a missing fields. In fact, we did not represent those fields. We may have to little change our design. So my god. Edited object input failed. Okay, we have a little tricky situation here, but anyway, we can still fix it. It gives me an option because it needs a fully qualified object, missing object also to be mentioned, because I'm using the primary key to update. So I may have to add one more query. So identify the record, the old record which is already existing, and replace with the existing one. So I'm going to write one more function. Get record by ID. Student ID. Whatever, so some name. Same thing. Let me get first. I may have to do one more thing. I can query them based on mark, because it has an indexing capability. This has an indexing capability. We only declared the primary key. We did not tell the std is also going to be used for querying purpose. So I need to define that also an index. Key it's true by default, because the primary key always going to be unique. Now my schema itself changed. Let me go back. Create an index. That the name of the index is this one. Means I'm going to create a query where stdid equal to something. So the name of the index, this one, supply them, and make a request. This time index get will give you copy them. Okay, so I'm just going to verify one single record, what's the value it is trying to fetch. Based on that, I'll go ahead and update it. So I'm just going to disable this thing for some time. Since my schema changed, time to change my database name. Whenever you do a substantial changes in your schema, I mean the object store now is having an additional indexing capability, you end up creating the table again. Or if you are creating a new table or new object store, you can simply increase the version and then you can proceed further. Okay, so now I get back the entire object which I selected. Only thing what is going to be edited, we will work it out. So the entire object, because in the previous example where you tried to get, we had a missing objects. Now we have the entire object of where I am clicking. I can very well get it back. So let me add one more record. Getting, so it is, what is the equivalent function what we have written here is this particular get, what it really does, select star from stdtbl where stdid equal to something. So the query was written in this way. First you define the index, the condition becomes a index property. So the stdid, what I am going to query, this particular index I am going to query. So you supply that value, you will get the exact same record which you just clicked. Now you can go ahead and prepare for editing. So this whole block I need to change it to some other place. Since I already have a transaction and other objects, I can very well proceed. Okay, I really don't want to make a nested block. What you can do here, return is not possible. Okay. The edited object we already have. and field is invisible now, so we have to bring that. Okay, we brought input field is also missing. Okay, it's quite slightly redundant code, so let us keep the different naming convention. This event is already being used here, so this event update, I'll make it slightly different name. Request also going to be a little confusing. Okay, it's a local object, so and object store. Okay, that's fine. Good. Same object store, fine. Now time to test whether it is reflecting or not. Did. So now it is perfectly persisted. This code slightly looks redundant, but if you have a clear focus on what we are really doing. First thing, in our previous design, since we are clicking the specific field to edit one particular DOM, we only know which particular field is being clicked. So this value could be retrieved, but we do not know what is the entire record or entire row values. So first thing, we have to identify which record was clicked and retrieve them. There it is, get record by ID, using that, and do the update, which field is going to get changed, do the change and execute the update request. I am using the single transaction and single object store here itself, because I have already got the required permission. So I have two blocks. First one is doing the query. When the query is success, it is performing an update. So two things it does. Now we have the values being updated accordingly. Okay, looks fine. Now what we need to do, give an option to edit. Sorry, I think we did edit, we just need to delete them. Okay, let us do the delete. This is where we are actually deleting a record. Okay, the same procedure, get access to the transaction and other stuff, object store. And just delete it. Index. We can get it using data index. The value what we are inserting using through this one. So paste request code successful. Refresh the database. Get all student records. Let's try. I think it works. So now value is being inserted, and value can also be edited. And a value can also be deleted. Primary key, of course, remember a value once is taken, it won't be reused. That we already know the convention. That's why it is always a unique value and always an incremental value. So the whole example is right now based on IndexedDB, and nowhere we are using local storage for this example. It will take a while for you to understand what I really did. I'll give you a time, of course, after the break you can work. Even tomorrow you can work, because tomorrow, in fact, I'm going to extend it furthermore, but in a neat way. I'm just going to remove a lot of complication what we have here, because there are some other sort way of doing complex queries. But to start with, you make sure first you understand the previous example, how we handle the events, then try to relate with that. In that, we just remove the local storage. Right now we just use the IndexedDB to do the same work. So the necessary of indexing is somehow defined over here. So if you could crack why this thing is being defined, then you will be in a right track. IndexedDB having multiple indexing capability, anything or any field could be an index, but which index suitable for you, you are going to use it for your further retrieval. This part I'll be making it much simpler, where getting and updating slightly a roundabout work, we can make it much simpler, in fact. But I did in this way so that I can also show you I can execute a different query with a condition, and once you have a specific record, we can go ahead for updating them. So I'll upload this particular source code. You can go ahead and complete it after the break. For debugging, you can still do a inspect and go for resource. There is an IndexedDB. This is where your tables, databases, what was created. So the last one for me, this one, we see the schema is available and the values being assigned over here. You can debug them. So if anything goes wrong, you can identify what really has happened. So use it effectively. See that the mapping, how it has happened. Since it is because of the indexing mapping what I really did, the naming convention slightly changed. That's why I usually keep the same table name and this one same. But primary key I gave a different name or different name for the index, and that has done the work here. This primary key, what it is associating, it is what it is actually displaying. Okay. So do a little research, make sure you complete after the break, and tomorrow how long it will take to fully complete, if at all. If you could not complete today, how long you would need to complete this example fully. For tomorrow I'm asking, because I can prepare for next session post lunch or pre lunch. I probably can decide. So if you could let me, what is that? I was just expecting why there is no disturbances are there. What was that?